All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. It's always fun to have on my next guest. I used to enjoy watching Dinesh. I know that I've probably never told him this, but quite frankly, millions of people have viewed him online back in the day, offering his debates and making Christians look good in the public square. So anyway, Dinesh is out with a new film. That'll be coming out, I believe, October 7th or around October 7th, The Dragon's Prophecy. And so we're going to get into that. And I've got some more questions to ask him regarding some of the issues of the day. Dinesh, welcome back to the show.
Carl, it's always a pleasure. I really enjoy talking to you, so I'm glad to be back on.
Absolutely. Okay, so Dinesh, I got to ask you, obviously I want to get to the film, but right off the bat, we were kind of talking offline. Comey has been indicted. Thank God. You have experienced a lot of abuse at the hands of the federal government, particularly the DOJ underneath the the Obama administration. So I want to get your take on that. And also, we were talking about how, I mean, you can go back to this bullying from the federal government, the DOJ, obviously what you experienced, but even going back to Al Gore back in the day. I'm looking at all these kids on college campuses that are so rebellious. They go to college, they leave their families, their parents' values behind. And I can recall Al Gore saying back in the day, you know, hey, basically don't listen to your parents anymore. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but I just want to get your take on all of that before we dive into your film, The Dragon's Prophecy.
There's so many currents swirling around the country right now. And as I was saying to you, some of it goes back, I think, a generation. Some of it goes back to the 60s, some of it the turn of the century. You mentioned Al Gore. Some of it heated up under Obama. Now, with regard to James Comey, he was the FBI director. And I had made this film criticizing Obama. It was called 2016 Obama's America. I discovered later that the FBI was surveilling me. And when they saw that I made a $20,000 contribution to a college friend who was running for office, they assigned $100,000 to investigate this case. So, and then ultimately I was indicted. I was in handcuffs. So the point is that, no American other than me has been prosecuted for doing this. I mean, I was obviously it was a first-time offense. I was not doing any quid pro quo. I stood to gain nothing from it. So they don't normally prosecute this stuff. So this was selective prosecution. This was a politically motivated prosecution, and it was done by Comey. It was, in fact, years before all of this started up with Carter Page, Michael Flynn, Papadopoulos, ultimately, of course, Trump himself. So I was like the first case of politically motivated prosecutorial hit jobs. So you know what? I got to say, I'm a little bit delighted. I'd like to do an Erica Kirk and say I forgive the guy, but I actually don't. I think a little bit of justice here needs to be served pretty cold. I'm the mug shot, if we need someone to read in prison stories, I volunteer.
Listen, I don't blame you. First off, he's cocky as all get out. He's not asked for forgiveness. The guy continues to lie and he's smug. And honestly, sometimes people need justice, and what you experienced was wrong, in my opinion. And so hopefully this guy is getting his just due. And I honestly think that this needs to happen. I think this is the right thing to do. I think this is the moral thing to do. I can only hope and wish that they follow suit with Brennan and indicting him. These people that have these high positions cannot be allowed to abuse those positions. I mean, those positions come with a level of moral responsibility that, frankly, if they abuse them, I'm sorry. They need to visit they need to get in the paddy wagon and go visit jail. All right. One more question before we get to your film. Obviously, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, things have gotten it's just unreal. It's unreal, but it's not for me. I hate to say this, Dinesh. I think violence in America is probably political violence, I should say, is probably going to get worse before it gets better. And I just think that this is what the left has been stoking for so long. It's bound to happen. And I'm wondering, how do we stop it? Do you have a take on that?
Well, here's the difference between the left and the right, because there are a lot of people who say, well, you got this problem on both sides. Here's why we don't have the problem on both sides. The right has no theory of violence. We might say that our opponents are bungling idiots. We might say even that they are malevolent, but we don't have no doctrine that mobilizes our side to physically go after them. And
Yep.
what's the proof of this? Well, let's look at Charlie Kirk himself. Right after that happened, was there any, let's leave aside, was there any retaliation? There wasn't. Let's leave aside that there weren't riots. There weren't. But my point is, even the left didn't expect them. The left didn't say, hey, we got to put up the barricades because the right is going to go nuts. They're going to be conducting riots. This is their George Floyd.
Yep.
They knew that we're not like them. And they knew that everything would be completely peaceful, as it has been. So we don't have a theory of violence, but they do. So their theory of violence has two parts to it. The first part is our enemies are fascists who are trying to create a tyrannical regime in the country. And B, we have to do whatever is necessary to stop them. So think about it.
Yeah.
That's the shooter's doctrine.
No,
right?
you're right.
The shooters basically believed it, but he's not the only one who said it. In fact, lots of people say it. And it took, the shooter probably thinks, well, listen, they are only saying it, but I'm actually carrying it out. So this, I think, is the problem, that there is a theory of violence, and these violent people are putting that theory into practice.
So well said. I totally agree with you. I mean, they know that we're not going to come back after them. For one, we believe in accountability, not just here on this earth, but in the life to come. So we don't even think that way. I mean, I didn't even think of, oh man, you know what I mean? It's not in us. Now, if somebody hurts us, we're going to defend ourselves or come after us, but that's a different story. Okay, let's talk about the dragon's prophecy. I always enjoy getting Dinesh's take on the issues of the day when I have them on, because I don't get to speak to him that frequently. But let's talk about this, because I was actually watching a video of yourself and your wife, Dinesh. And I'm looking forward to, but not looking forward to seeing this film, because I know there's going to be some things in there that it's dealing with October 7th that I'm not necessarily going to want to see, but I feel like I need to see. But you were talking about, you're doing something different with this film. There's always, I guess the debate has become somewhat stagnant between the left and the right. Tell us what you guys wanted to accomplish with this particular film.
Well, there is a critique from the left that is essentially Israel is a colonizer critique. And it also is a critique that basically says that Israel is the perpetrator of genocide. And on the right, you have a kind of relatively new critique. And this is coming from people like Tucker, like Candace, people I've been close to over the years. I was on a lecture tour last year with Tucker Carlson in Australia. We spoke in 7 cities together. None of this topic, by the way, came up at all. But so these guys, the critique from the right appears to be, number one, Israel controls America. Number two, we have to act in our own interests and not in Israel's interest. And number three, this is a kind of somewhat exotic twist from Tucker. The Jews of today are not really the true descendants of the ancient Israelites. So God may have given the land biblically to Abraham, but Netanyahu has nothing to do with Abraham. So you've got this kind of rather interesting historical claim. And also the film wades into all of this, but it does it not by getting in the mud with these people, but by trying to elevate the tone and give a fresh new way to look at all this. And that fresh new way is through the lens of biblical archeology and biblical history and biblical prophecy. And when you look at it that way, suddenly things spring into a new light. You at least see things with a clarity that's not there before. And it turns out it answers the critiques both from the left and from the right.
I think we only have a minute and a half left in this block here, Dinesh, but I think this is absolutely brilliant and absolutely needed. And frankly, just like you said, not just for people on the left, but sincerely for people on the right. And I would even argue for people, for Christians, for evangelicals that are clueless as to how to go out and talk about the state of Israel, Palestine, which I want to get into, because there really is no Palestine or Palestinians. But I want to get your take on that. So I just think this is a brilliant take on this, and such a necessary take. We only have 50 seconds left in this block. Is that what inspired you to do it? You wanted better arguments out there from the right or from the left, just educating people, or what?
Well, I became interested in biblical archaeology and the way in which you can say God is speaking back through the stones. As the world has become more secular, suddenly there is unbelievable archaeological evidence coming out of the ground, tablets and stones and seals, and it's validating and proving the Hebrew and the Christian scripture. So that was my starting point. Then along came October 7th. So it's kind of like I put some pieces together and I realized,
Wow.
This is a very unusual and fresh way to look at all this.
Okay, I love it.
Hey guys, Carl
more
Jackson
on the
here
other
for My
side.
Pillow,
We're
a
speaking
major
with Dinesh
retail
D'Souza.
chain
Check out the
just
film.
canceled a massive order, leaving My Pillow with an overstock of classic My Pillows. Now it's your game. For a limited time, My Pillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard My Pillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals of $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts, no strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard My Pillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat.
All right, back with my guest Dinesh D'Souza. He's out with a new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, out in theaters, I believe, on October 7th. Dinesh, where can people go to find the movie and find out more about the film?
The one-stop shop is the website. It is thedragonsprophecyfilm.com, thedragonsprophecyfilm.com. You can get theater tickets. You can order the streaming. You can get DVDs. So go to the website. There's a trailer. There's all kinds of information up there. I'm very excited about this film. It's a departure for me, Carl, because my earlier films in some ways have all been about America, the meaning of America.
Yeah.
But this is a film that has a much wider sweep. It's not really just about Israel. It's ultimately about the unfolding of biblical history and biblical prophecy and the important role that each of us plays in that, because I think ultimately we are all called to sort of take a side. We've got to take a stand, and we've got to decide what we think about these astounding events that are foretold in the Bible.
I love that. Do you suspect that this will bring people to the Bible, perhaps to church, maybe? I'm speaking of unbelievers. Do you suspect that if unbelievers see this film, that they might be more interested in reading the Bible?
Absolutely, Carl. And let me give you a hint of why I think that is the case. So one of the arguments of the film, and I think this is quite novel, is this. The battle between Israel and Hamas is not a one-off. It's not just another act of terrorism. It's not just it's not even just an historical event. It's a biblical event. And why? Because there is a weird resonance, a weird recreation of some of the battles in the Bible between the ancient Israelites and their classic enemies, the Philistines. Now, let's look at a figure in the Bible like Samson. Samson represents the strength of Israel. And it says in the Bible that Samson was captured by the Philistines, and the Philistines took him where? To Gaza. That's because the Philistines occupied the part that was at that time called Philistia, but there were 5 cities in it, and the Bible names them, and one of them is Gaza. So they blind Samson very much in the way that Israel was, quote, blinded on October 7th. And then the Bible says that the people of Gaza demanded that Samson be stripped of his clothes and brought out, quote, so that we may be entertained by him. And if you followed October 7th, this is exactly what the Hamas terrorists did. They brought the captives into Gaza, stripped them, and then paraded them for people to laugh and cheer and exchange, congratulations and so on. So in a way, what I'm saying is that Samson was really the first hostage of Gaza. And looking at things in this light, you begin to see that what happened 3,000 years ago is in a very interesting way happening again. Now, the name Philistine and the name Palestinian are the same word. It's the same name, although very interestingly, it's not the same people, because the Philistines were in fact Europeans. So the Jews were there in the Holy Land 3,000 years ago, but the people in Philistia were not Arabs, they were not Semites, they were European people who came from the Mediterranean, from the Aegean, from places like Cyprus. And so the Jews have an ancient history in that land, but the Arabs don't.
Man, Dinesh, I'm already ready to see this thing. I love the fact that you said Samson. How did you say that Samson was the first hostage in Gaza? That was, right. I mean, that is absolutely eye opening. Will you explain to the viewers the history of Palestine, if you will?
Well, let me give you a couple of tidbits that I think people will find very interesting. Number one, where do we get the name Palestine? So the Romans conquered the region starting around 300 or so BC. And the Jews had a couple of revolts against the Romans because the Romans were doing all kinds of things to them, including desecrating their holy rites. And so the Romans said, let's punish the Jews. How do we punish the Jews? Let's rename their country. And so the Romans said, let's take the name of their old enemies, the Philistines, and let's rename this region, previously called Judea or Israel, let's rename it Palestine. That's how we got the name Palestine. And then later, fast forward 2,000 years, the Palestinians, who are basically just Arabs who live in the region, said, we are the new Palestinians. So there's never really been a Palestine. There's never been a Palestine state. This was an insulting name inflicted on the Jews by the Romans. That's part of the history of it. Here's another thing. After the state of Israel was formed in 1948 and they began to start digging in the ground, all kinds of things started coming out. Now, for thousands of years, we've had this Bible, not just the New Testament, but the Old, going back to the time of Abraham. And the Bible describes all these personalities like King David or the prophet Isaiah, the prophet Jeremiah, even like Pontius Pilate. And until very recently, there was no evidence outside the Bible that these people existed, that they were real. There was no external testimony. But guess what? Yeah, they're digging in the ground and out come seals and tablets and stones verifying King David, the palace of David. Jeremiah was a real figure. So was Isaiah. We actually have his seal. Pontius Pilate, a stone tablet comes out of northern Israel. It has his name right on there. Prefect of it, Pontius Pilate, the Roman prefect of the region. So suddenly, you asked earlier about skeptics and atheists. Suddenly, people who have for many years been chanting that the Bible was written hundreds of years later, a lot of it was made up, it was embellished, none of this really happened. No, archaeology is validating that the people and the events of the Bible, not just the New Testament, which goes back 2,000 years, but the Old Testament, which goes back 2,000 years before that these events are real.
Man, I love it. I love it. Now, again, I'm speaking to Dinesh D'Souza. Go out and check out his new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, coming out October 7th. Dinesh, you traveled back to Israel, if I understand correctly, and you went into some of these areas that Hamas attacked. Obviously, this film isn't necessarily because you've got video from some of the attacks that occurred, and some unseen footage as well. So this film obviously isn't going to be for the faint of heart, but just how did it feel? I mean, if you can explain it, going into those areas where you knew such an atrocity had occurred or such atrocities had occurred.
So while we're filming, we go down to the Gaza border and we go to the Nova Festival, which was the scene of one of the attacks. And we go to these kibbutzes, and the kibbutzes are really close to Gaza. I mean, they're 700 meters from Gaza, like a football field away from Gaza. And so while I'm standing outside and I'm talking to one of these survivors of October 7th, you can actually hear in the film, you can hear boom, boom. Bombs are going off behind us in Gaza, and you can hear machine gun fire coming from across in Gaza. So this is the electric atmosphere of all this. Now, here's the other thing, and that is that a lot of people, very few people, have actually seen any footage at all of October 7th. It's really strange. But the Israeli government made a decision not to publicize it, to try to show it to select journalists. But who are these journalists? The BBC, Sky News, CNN. A lot of these journalists are just absolutely ideologically dug in. They're propagandists. So we collected this footage. Now, I don't show the most brutal footage, but I do think people need to get some sense of what that was like. And here's a remarkable thing, Carl, which is that Hamas filmed it themselves. So when you look at the footage, it's not like you're from the victim side watching the terrorists come. It's like you're riding on a motorcycle with a GoPro alongside the terrorists. You're going into Israel with them because they're the ones doing the filming. So we do open the film with a powerful but tasteful depiction of what happened on October 7th.
Man, it's just like you said, Dinesh. I mean, they were looking to entertain. I mean, in an evil, sadistic matter, they were looking to kill the people that they view as their enemies, and entertain at the same time. I mean, I can't wait to see this. We only have a minute and a half left. Why don't you again tell us where people can go to find this film and when they can find it?
Yeah, it's playing in theaters on October 6th and October 8th. So kind of easy to remember. It's not on October 7th. It's the 2 days right around it. October 6th and 8th in 400 theaters. You put in your zip code in the website. It pulls up all the theaters near you. And so see it in the theater if you can. But if you can't, no problem. The very next day, October 9th, it goes into streaming. DVDs will arrive in your mailbox. You can pre-order the streaming and the DVDs now. So the website, again, is thedragonsprophecyfilm.com. So the dragons, plural, thedragonsprophecyfilm.com.
Man, and I hope everyone sees it. I honestly, I can't wait to see it. Frankly, I think it'll be good for the soul, and I hope many of you out there will see it. Real quick, Dinesh, we only got 30 seconds. I just wanted to get your take on the state of college and quality of students. I mean, obviously, Charlie Kirk was out there debating them. You used to debate professors and so on, et cetera, on college campuses. What needs to happen on college? 30 seconds.
There's so much indoctrination that the kids on the left, it's not just they don't know the arguments on our side. They've never even heard of the people making these arguments. I mean, I've seen debates where Charlie Kirk is on a campus. He goes, "Who was Milton Friedman?" The students like, "I don't know." "Who was Hayek?" "Never heard of him." So Charlie made a fool of these people because their level of knowledge is absolutely zero.
Oh, man. All right. We got to leave it there. Go check out the film, The Dragon's Prophecy.